Hello from Mindset Daily, wishing you a day full of health, peace, and happiness. Thank you for watching the Mindset Daily channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Thank you so much.
Have you ever noticed how the strongest people rarely introduce themselves with titles? Why do some walk into a room and instantly command respect without saying a word? Because real power isn't spoken, it's lived. There's something profound about walking into a room and letting your spirit speak before your resume does. Too many people define themselves by what they do, listing job titles, ventures, and skills like a checklist of worth. But here's the truth. What you do is not who you are. That's why I say, never tell people what you do, because your purpose speaks louder than any position you'll ever hold. Purpose runs deeper than any occupation. It's the reason you wake up each morning with fire in your soul. The force that keeps you moving when the applause fades and no one's watching. When you live from purpose, you don't need to announce what you do. The fruit of your life reveals it. In the way you walk, how you treat others, and how you endure hardship while still pressing forward. That can't be printed on a business card. It has to be lived. But in a world addicted to recognition, we overshare. We crave validation. We rush to tell people our titles, achievements, and plans, trying to prove we matter. And in doing so, we dilute the sacred depth of our journey. We trade meaning for attention. We give them headlines, but not the heart. My friend, don't fall for that trap. The most powerful people you'll ever meet aren't the loudest in the room. They're the ones anchored in purpose. They don't need to tell you what they do. You can feel it every time they speak. You can feel it in their presence. You just know it, without a single word spoken. That's the kind of life worth living. When you lead with purpose instead of position, you draw people into your vision, not just your vocation. Suddenly, the questions change. It's no longer what do you do, but why do you do it? Not do you make a living, but what are you living for? And those questions are the ones that awaken true transformation. Those are the conversations that shape legacies. Think about Jesus. He never walked around announcing a title. He didn't hand out credentials or list his achievements. He simply walked in love, spoke with authority, and healed with compassion. People followed not because of what he claimed to be, but because of what they saw in him. His identity was revealed through action, not advertisement. And that's how it should be for us. When your life is rooted in purpose, you don't have to promote it. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. You just live it, faithfully, quietly, and courageously. In time, your purpose will shine brighter than any title ever could. Now, don't get it wrong. There's nothing bad about being proud of your work, striving for excellence, or leading well. But real pride isn't loud. True confidence doesn't boast. It brings peace. And when people feel that kind of purpose in you, they won't need your job description to understand your value. They'll recognize you by your fruit. That's why I say again, never tell people what you do. Let your purpose introduce you long before your words ever do. Let the light of your calling speak. Because when you stop performing and start living, when you lead with purpose, not position, you move from impressing others to truly impacting lives. And that, my friend, is where real power begins. We live in a world where noise has become the measure of worth. If you're loud enough, visible enough, or busy enough, people assume you're doing something great. But the truth is, greatness doesn't need a microphone. True impact never demands attention. It earns it, quietly. That's why you must let your work speak for itself. There's something sacred about moving in silence. It's not about secrecy, it's about reverence. It's about honoring your calling as something too precious to parade for applause. The moment you talk more than you build, you risk trading the depth of your vision for the shadow of validation. And shadows don't build legacies, substance does. When you're building with God, you don't need to broadcast it. You don't need the world to approve your obedience or to announce every step of faith. What you need is consistency, humility, and trust. Trust that the one who called you will finish the work within you. Trust that even when no one sees, heaven records every act of obedience. Trust that, in due time, what you planted in the dark will bloom in the light. Yet too often, we're tempted to explain ourselves, to prove we're doing something meaningful, to convince others we're on the right path. So we post, we share, we talk. But here's the truth. If you're constantly explaining your work, it may be because the work isn't ready to speak for itself. You're trying to convince people of fruit that hasn't yet grown. And that's not how growth works. Think of a farmer. He doesn't plant a seed and rush from house to house shouting, "Look at this amazing tree I just planted." No, he plants it in faith. He waters it, he nurtures it, and he waits, because he knows that roots grow in silence. The most powerful part of any process happens below the surface. No applause, no spotlight, just quiet, steady faithfulness. That's exactly how your life should be. Consistent, purposeful, unwavering. You don't need to announce what you're doing when your actions already prove your purpose. You don't need to explain your calling when you're walking in it every day. Let your fruit speak. Let your results and your character tell the story. Because when you're truly aligned with what God placed inside you, it will naturally overflow into every area of your life. People will begin to notice the shift. They'll sense the strength in your silence. They'll feel the weight of your obedience without you saying a single word. That's the quiet power of work done in secret. It carries an authority no words can imitate. And when God decides to lift you up, there will be no question who deserves the credit. You won't need to say, "Look what I've done." Others will say, "Surely the hand of the Lord is on that life." There's a clear difference between self-promotion and divine elevation. One draws attention to you. The other brings glory to God. So if what you're building is truly from Him, remember, it's His glory you're after, not your own. Don't rush to tell people what you're building. Build it. Don't rush to defend what God told you in private. Protect it. And don't waste your strength trying to make others understand a vision that wasn't given to them. Use that strength to grow in silence, to serve with love, and to lead with integrity. Because the day will come, yes, it will come, when what you've been quietly building will speak louder than any words ever could. Not because you shouted it, but because the evidence of God's hand on your life will be undeniable. Not because you tried to convince anyone, but because your life became a living testimony. And when that moment arrives, you'll realize you never needed to tell them. You only needed to trust Him. Let your work speak for itself. There's something sacred about the dreams God plants in your heart. A vision so precious it demands protection. Too often, we're like children in a marketplace, shouting our hopes and plans to anyone willing to listen, desperate for approval or encouragement. But not every voice deserves a place at the table where your destiny is being formed. When you tell everyone what you do, you open the door to noise, doubts, and distractions that can derail your divine purpose. Guard your vision. It's sacred. Your calling isn't casual conversation. It's a holy assignment, entrusted to you with the promise that it will be fulfilled if you stay faithful and wise. When you spread your vision too thin, sharing it with anyone who asks, you invite confusion and negativity. Some will try to steal your passion. Others will dismiss your effort. And many will plant seeds of doubt in your heart. In those fragile moments, when your dreams are still forming, you must stand firm and protect what God has placed within you. Think about the servant in the parable who was entrusted with talents. He was given something valuable, something meant to multiply. But if he had gone around telling everyone about his talent before working with it, he would have risked losing focus, distracted by opinions, criticism, and fear. When your vision is shared too early, you risk losing the quiet, focused space it needs to grow. Protect that sacred space. Nurture it in silence. Work in the shadows where your faith can deepen without interruption. The enemy loves to steal your vision by planting seeds of doubt and confusion. He wants you to speak too soon so that the noise of the world drowns out the still, small voice of God in your heart. So be careful. Be discerning. When you tell everyone what you do, you invite opinions from those who don't understand, who don't share your faith, and who were never meant to walk your path. And sometimes, the hardest words to shake off come from those closest to you. People who, out of fear or envy, unintentionally weaken your confidence. Your vision is not a casual story to be shared over coffee or posted online. It's a sacred calling, meant to be developed in prayer, preparation, and perseverance. Guard it like a precious treasure, because once it's exposed, it's harder to protect. Choose carefully whom you confide in. Surround yourself with people who believe in God's promises, who pray for you, and who strengthen your faith. These are the voices that will keep your vision pure and alive. Remember, some dreams are meant to be carried quietly. Some victories are meant to be won in solitude before they are celebrated in the light. Your vision lives because God breathed it into you in secret moments of prayer and revelation. It was never meant to be a public performance before it was ready to stand on its own. The time to share your story will come, but only when the fruit is ripe. The strength of your vision depends on how faithfully you protect it from noise, doubt, and distraction. When you guard your calling, you preserve the focus needed to fulfill it. But when you let too many voices into your heart, you risk losing what God entrusted to you. It's a delicate balance, being open enough to receive guidance and support, yet wise enough to protect your dreams from those who won't nurture them. So stand firm in faith. Hold your vision close. Let God's peace guard the gate of your heart. Be discerning about who you share your plans with, because sometimes silence is your strongest shield. When you honor the sacredness of your dream, you honor the one who placed it within you. And when that dream finally takes form, when the purpose you've been protecting begins to unfold, it becomes a testimony, not just to your faith, but to your wisdom. The world will see the fruit, but they'll never know the quiet prayers and unseen battles that made it possible. Your integrity will shine because you guarded what was holy from the start. Yet there's a subtle trap many fall into, the trap of seeking validation. It creeps in quietly, whispering that we need others' approval to feel worthy. This hunger often reveals itself in our rush to tell people what we do, as if achievements could prove our value. But true worth doesn't come from being accepted or understood by others. It comes from being aligned with God's purpose for your life. When you seek validation too soon, you make your dreams vulnerable, open to doubt, disbelief, and discouragement from those who were never meant to carry your vision. It's a dangerous place to be when your joy and confidence depend on the reactions of others instead of the unchanging promises of God. True fulfillment doesn't come from applause, likes, or praise. It comes from knowing you are walking in obedience to the one who created you. When your identity rests on people's approval, you build your house on shifting sand. But when your life is grounded in God's word, your foundation is unshakable. No storm can move it. Think of the times Jesus was misunderstood, criticized, or rejected. Did he seek validation from the crowds? Did he waste time explaining himself to every skeptic? No, he stayed focused on his Father's will. He knew his worth wasn't found in human opinion, but in divine purpose. And that's what gave his impact eternal weight. In the same way, when God calls you to something, you don't have to convince anyone of your calling. Your job is to stay faithful, work diligently, and trust that God will bring growth in his perfect timing. You don't need to broadcast every step or chase constant approval. Just align with his purpose and walk in it boldly, no matter who sees or understands. Because when you crave validation from others, your vision begins to blur, and the noise of their opinions drowns out the still, steady voice of God. You begin making choices to please people instead of following God. You might compromise your values or delay your progress just to meet someone else's expectations. That's why it's crucial to guard your heart. Remember, you are enough, not because of what you do or what others say, but because you are God's beloved child. Your identity is secure in him, and his approval is all that truly matters. When you rest in that truth, you gain the freedom to pursue your calling without fear, hesitation, or the craving for validation. That freedom transforms the way you live and work. You no longer feel pressured to announce every step or seek applause for every effort. Instead, you find peace in knowing your labor is never in vain. You grow confident in the quiet moments of preparation, trusting that God sees what others overlook. And when the time comes for your work to shine, it will speak for itself. The results of a faithful, obedient life are impossible to ignore. People will see the difference, not because you've said it, but because they'll see the fruit. Your legacy won't be built on words, but on impact. So resist the urge to chase validation through explanation or promotion. Your worth isn't shaped by human opinion. It's anchored in God's unchanging love for you. When your life aligns with his purpose and you walk in obedience, you are already enough. The world may never fully understand you, but that doesn't change your worth. True fulfillment comes from walking with God, not from being understood by others. Keep your heart steady, trust his timing, and walk boldly on the path he designed for you. Knowing his approval is the only validation that matters. There's wisdom in restraint, in realizing that not every thought must be spoken, not every plan shared, and not every step announced. In a culture obsessed with oversharing and instant validation, Learning to keep some things private is a rare discipline that sets you apart. This quiet strength protects your journey and preserves the power of your purpose. When you resist the urge to tell everyone what you're doing, you guard your energy and shield your spirit from unnecessary criticism, comparison, and distraction. Because once your dreams are exposed to the public, they become vulnerable to opinions. Some people may celebrate you, but others will question or doubt you. And that noise can drain your spirit and steal your peace. By choosing silence in certain seasons, you protect your focus. You give space for your purpose to grow. There is power in patience, strength in trusting the process without demanding recognition. Think about those early morning hours when the world is still asleep, the quiet moments when faith strengthens and resolve takes root. In those unseen hours, as you work diligently without broadcasting your progress, you're laying a foundation that no opinion or distraction can shake. Your actions become your testimony, not your words. Some of the most powerful movements in history began in silence, hidden from public eyes. Great leaders, inventors, and visionaries started with nothing but a quiet dream and relentless determination. They didn't rush to announce their plans. They allowed their vision to mature in the shadows until it was strong enough to shine. And when it finally emerged, it carried depth, authenticity, and undeniable purpose. You too must learn this art of quiet perseverance. There will be moments when you're tempted to reveal your victories, share your plans, or explain your purpose. But remember, timing matters as much as vision. Reveal too soon, and you risk losing the strength and sacredness of your calling. Silence gives space for your character to grow. When you stop trying to tell the world who you are, you begin becoming the person truly capable of carrying your purpose. In stillness, humility takes root, and with it, lasting strength. Patience is forged in seasons of waiting, and integrity grows when your actions align with your values, even when no one is watching. There's a powerful spiritual truth in this. What is revealed too soon often loses its strength, but what's nurtured through patience and prayer carries lasting impact. When you protect your journey in silence, you give God room to work behind the scenes in ways you can't yet see. You make space for divine timing to unfold your vision at the perfect moment. Many mistake silence for weakness or inaction, but silence can be one of the strongest statements you'll ever make. It says, "I don't need to prove myself. I'm working, growing, and trusting God to move in His time." Embracing that kind of quiet confidence reveals wisdom beyond your years and a faith that cannot be shaken. There will be seasons when the most powerful thing you can do is stay silent. Keep your plans close, keep your hands steady, and keep your focus clear. Use that time to draw closer to God, refine your skills, and prepare your heart for the breakthrough ahead. Because when the right time comes, your work will speak for itself, louder than any announcement ever could. Learn to honor the quiet. That's where real strength is born. Protect your journey by resisting the urge to share every detail too soon. Hold your dreams close and nurture them with faith and patience. There's divine wisdom in knowing when to speak and when to stay still. Remember, your worth isn't measured by how loudly you announce your work, but by the lasting impact it creates. Let your quiet confidence become a testimony of your faith and your trust in God's perfect timing. There's a profound truth hidden in how we define success. In our rush to announce, prove, and impress, we often forget that true success isn't about recognition. It's about results. It's about the fruit your labor produces, the visible evidence that your effort was not in vain. That's why you should never feel pressure to tell people what you do before your results can speak for themselves. We live in a world obsessed with instant gratification, where announcements come before achievements, and hype often replaces hard work. But real success is born in quiet perseverance and revealed through undeniable results. Because no matter how passionately you talk about your dreams, it's the outcome that matters most. When your work finally bears fruit, it becomes its own testimony, a reflection of your discipline, your faith, and God's favor upon your life. Too many rush to speak of the seed before the harvest, forgetting that silence is often the soil where greatness grows. This habit of sharing too soon often leads to disappointment, judgment, or even envy, especially when the results don't live up to the expectations your words created. It's a subtle trap that drains your joy and clouds your focus. When you expose your progress too early, You become vulnerable to outside opinions before your work is ready to stand on its own. But when you shift your focus from validation to results, you release yourself from the pressure to justify your journey. You learn to work quietly, trusting that your diligence will one day speak for itself. The true impact of your efforts becomes your greatest testimony, one that needs no defense. Results have a language of their own. They cross borders, silence doubts, and speak louder than any promise ever could. When people witness the change you've created, the lives you've touched, or the goals you've achieved, they don't need an explanation. Your results become the evidence of your faith and perseverance, a silent but powerful witness to your calling. Think again of the farmer. He doesn't stand in the field shouting about his seeds. He plants, he tends, and he waits. And when the harvest comes, it tells the story, no words needed. Likewise, your results are your harvest, the visible proof of unseen labor, quiet faith, and steadfast hope. This principle isn't limited to your career. It touches every part of your life, your character, your relationships, your faith. Let your integrity remain the same whether anyone is watching or not. Let your kindness show through your actions, not your announcements. Let your faithfulness in small things prepare you for greater responsibilities. Your life is the result of what you build quietly over time. Waiting for results teaches patience and endurance. Virtues that are rare in a world obsessed with speed and instant gratification, yet essential for true success. When you work without seeking immediate recognition, you develop a strength that can't be shaken by failure or criticism. You begin to trust the process and rest in God's perfect timing. And when your results finally appear, they will speak for themselves. No one can argue with a transformed life, a flourishing purpose, or a fulfilled calling. Your results will become your legacy, a living testimony of your faithfulness and God's power working through you. So don't rush to explain your purpose or seek validation before your fruits are ready. Stay focused. Stay faithful. Let your life speak through your actions. When the time is right, your results will echo louder than any words ever could. Remember, the true measure of your work lies in its fruit. Let your results tell your story, and trust that God will honor your faithfulness in due season. Wishing you strength, peace, and endless blessings. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Mindset Daily, for more inspiration and growth.